But let's focus on the game, because this is a good one, folks. Game 1 of this best of 5 in the grand finals of the Winter Series, hosted by EGC, and we are underway. And the opening game, it's going to be on Lipany as always. And look at this difference. Look at this mix-up right here, because notice that it is not a Mongol-on-Mongol spam out right now. LucifroN, respecting how powerful MarineLorD has been on the Mongols in the mirror matchup so far in this tournament, decides to keep that for another day. Instead, going into his powerful China, he's proven capable of beating some of the best in the world at. Let's see if he can beat one of the best here. So opening-wise, MarineLorD, Uvu spawns behind him, and it's quite close to base. So there's no loss here in terms of efficiency. Also, this entire spawn is quite nice to open up with. So you got Gold Vein, another Uvu over here, another Gold Vein. You're going to have a stacked military district just behind your main line, and the Gold Veins are nearby, which is very important for the Mongols opening up. And also, this start, right next to a wood line and the berry bush, as well as having the Uvu nearby, I think MarineLorD just hit the jackpot on this. Compare on the other side, by the way, LucifroN, bit tougher. Gold Vein far out, Stone is close by at least. Meanwhile, your next Gold Vein is either far ahead or far behind. Got scammed. Woodline is at least obviously incredibly close. That's one thing you're almost always guaranteed on Lipany, is that your first tree line should be within kissing distance. So at least it's not the end of the world there. Definitely feel like he got screwed over on these other elements, though. The good news is China, at least, is you don't actually have to opt into Gold Veins that early. Remember, if you get this early Imperial Official out like he did, you can just tax your way to victory, at least for the first phase, going up to Feudal. And then the ripple-on effect to consider, by the way, is if you go for a secondary TC, he could actually plop it here between the tree line and the Gold Vein, or next to the stone and the gold, right? So he could cover himself to move into that expansion. Same with placing a Barbican the Sun. Remember, one of the big things when using the Barbican the Sun, the defensive landmark at Feudal for China, is you want to leverage it to push forward into a new economical gain, right? Whether it's moving towards a gold vein or a deer line, right? Which the deer lines, this is the insane part. If LucifroN does start to push back into this area for his main economy, this is oozing value right now. 2 deer stacks close by. Gold, stone, all of it. But remember, because he's playing as China, he doesn't even need to do that. He can opt into a stable, pro scouts, and drag all these carcasses back to base quite easily. Something that I'm expecting MarineLorD to do as well. You can see he's already dropped the stable, showing the intent. And the whole concept behind this is with the stone, you're saving yourself a big bundle of food early on. Not only doubling the rate at which you push out scouts, but making it cost-effective and competitive with China. And for those unfamiliar with the way the format works in this, by the way, because of the bans, I believe one was England and one might have been Rus, if I'm not mistaken. Those civs are unavailable to both players for the entire BO5, which means there is only one additional civ that wouldn't get played by each of these players if this goes to a full 5-game series. And that's kind of the cool part, right? Like, you can't just cheese your way to a victory off of 2 civs you're good at, right? Say you're, like, very good at broken civs, and you're like, oh, Mongols and Rus are amazing. And so far, up to the finals, you managed to do that. Now you're in the grand finals, you need to be more than a 2-trick pony. And I'd argue, if anything, you need to be more than a 3-trick pony, right? Because think about it this way. If you're a 2-trick pony, someone's going to ban your best, and then you've got another one that you're good at, right? That ripple effect from there. It's why we've seen people like Guz engage on multiple Smurfs, figuring out new civs so he can expand his repertoire. Because previously, he was just known as like the HRE king, right? And same with, you know, when the game first came out, a lot of these players were just known as Mongol spamming kings. They didn't really have much else in the repertoire other than Mongols in France. So going into those kind of best of 5 formats in those days, anyone who'd learned a pocket civ, because most of the games being played by those two, had an edge. This early harassment is, of course, annoying for China, but as soon as one of these civvies gets low, just pull them back, give them a new duty somewhere else. And the Barbican the Sun is going to be the opt drop for LucifroN. Makes sense up against the Mongols, and a glorious location, protecting over the deer lines, the gold lines, the stone lines, everything. And this push-in by MarineLorD, with the scout spam, it should not be quick enough. Remember, China builds faster, so if anything, you might lose 1 or 2 scouts. However, they might just about get through a villi here. Yeah, the cancelled attacks. Re-engaging just in time. He'll snipe out this villager. The pull away. No, he doesn't pursue it. He couldn't get in range. LucifroN barely keeping the villager alive, and will get the tech up. So aggression now offset here. Not easy for MarineLorD to poke and prod anymore. Should be looking for the tech up himself. Almost complete with the Deer Stone. And in terms of the count right now, only 3 scouts in the field. Could be building into more right now, and he is doubling up. So I'll put him up to 5. That'll prep him for the professional scouts. You can see he's almost got the required amount of gold and should have it just in time with 4 people working this. LucifroN is going to suffer in comparison. He can't afford to do the same, right? Because right now, the gold line is too far out, and he's only been working on taxes, which is why instead he does this. He moves onto the stone line. He's doing what we expected. It's going to be the TC boom. There we go. Finally, MarineLorD is up. And I'm not expecting too much aggression yet. I think his intent is to rush into castle, and then he'll look to siege. Then again, if he does see his opponent starts to wall in like this, and he goes into multiple TC, which he did see courtesy of the stone outcropping being mined, then it might pressure MarineLorD into being present at an earlier point than he maybe originally intended here. Does get eyeballs on the operation in the meantime. And he even finds a way to stab at the villagers. Remember, this becomes pesky and annoying much quicker now because the Khan, once he gets juiced up, it's 4 damage as opposed to the previous 2. The good news is he just wasted the attack speed arrow for nothing. And there's the TC drop. Straight next to the stone outcropping and straight next to the gold vein. So you're saving yourself an extra 50 wood needed on the gold vein, and you can actually harvest this quite quickly. Meanwhile, MarineLorD moves across, snatches the deer right from underneath his opponent. We expected this to be happening, though. And LucifroN had to surrender it. When he got this generation, when the gold vein was this far away, the feasibility of going for pro scouts himself went out the window. And that's why he's not opting into it hardcore right now. He won't even be able to get the wall in just yet. Had he been quicker on this wall in and he walled across here as well, he actually would have protected all these deers. And also denied his opponent a huge chunk of economy. But now MarineLorD, this is the worst case scenario when you're playing up against pro scouts. He's going to get all 4 locations worth of deer eventually. Because you're not competing. Keep in mind, by the way, you still could commit if you want to. LucifroN would just have to go for the cheesy snatch away, right? Diving into the TC, taking the deer carcasses away. I just don't see him doing that. And look, we said about this, right? This area was prime real estate for an economy expansion. And that's what he's doing. He's walling it in. Up to 2 officials so far. Rates should be in favor of LucifroN for the moment, and you can see on the numbers. MarineLorD is heavy into the gold, though, right? He's prepping for that tech up, and the food is looking glorious right now. Almost through the sheep, but now replacing it with the deer just in time. So he's going to get very quick castle timing. LucifroN, unlikely to do so. Instead, look, he does this. He hangs around with Imperial Academy. Whenever you do the double TC opener, you're probably, like 98% of the time against decent China players, going to see them go back for the Imperial Academy to get the Song Dynasty so that they produce the villages 35% quicker. This will allow you to ramp up quicker in the coming 5 to 10 minute bracket, but it does leave you somewhat susceptible to raids before that point, something that the Mongols do incredibly well. And that's a villager lost. Over time, this is going to add up, right? Because the initial prods, they're putting a lot of these villagers down to half health or less. And now the rack's being dropped by LucifroN. Imperial Academy almost complete. MarineLorD, when he sees this, he knows he's confident to keep raiding. And he'll move in for more of these deer. And we'll get it for free as well. So LucifroN, because he's shown his hand like this, because it was obvious, but he's definitely confirmed it, MarineLorD now has a bracketed window of about 5 minutes to apply maximum pressure without any repercussions to himself. What I mean by this is when you make this play, yes, you are pushing out more villages more regularly, but there's an initial investment cost that's more severe. Because now, instead of it being you're having to expend 150 food every minute per TC, you've decreased that now, right? It's actually over the 200 mark per minute now because it takes you only 13 seconds to produce a villager. Not able to get the walls up either. MarineLorD could sneak one more load of deer. He's paranoid about getting walled in here. He'd still be able to sneak out, but his worry is there are spearmen coming. So good move to keep one scout here. Blocks in the villager with the wolf engaging as well. All right, this game's rigged. Gaia units have been bribed by MarineLorD, as we can clearly see. That's against the rules. That's going to be a DQ. And start snatching away the corpses. And after LucifroN had invested in the mill as well, he thought he'd secured this with the spears. And the walls are up, but not over here, right? He never completed it. You can see this one wall here is still open, so you'll be able to escape after sniping out the villager. Really well played by MarineLorD. That clutch detail meant that it wasn't even possible for LucifroN to block it. The problem that you do have is even if you had managed to wall that up as LucifroN, he didn't have his spears in position anymore. And there's the back away. Even keeps all of the scouts alive. And that's frustrating, right? You invest in the mill. There's 2 carcasses left here. You're really stressed at this point. Like, you needed that extra influx of food to ramp you up to a castle age more comfortably. Now it's a very finite amount of food here, so you don't want to run too many villagers over here. And remember, these rates are quicker on the gather from the deers, which is why it would have supported him into a castle age half a minute or so sooner than what it is going to now. Because now he has to consider farm switchover or moving out into risky berry territory, right? And this is a very far out there location. Yes, the Barbican Sun might look that close within a screen's reach, right? But with a stealth forest nearby, MarineLorD could snipe out several of your villagers before you can react. And in fact, is running out archers now to try and start sniping. The Spearmen slow to respond. They aren't hardened status, but remember, the archers do get bonus damage up against them. And now the Lancers coming out for MarineLorD. Brace, decent damage done. Baits him in, and it's a bad trade right now from MarineLorD to get rid of the initial spears. He'll at least keep one of these Lancers up, though. And remember, that one cost him stone, so it's not the end of the world on his economy. Ends up being a good trade, and more importantly, it forces LucifroN to replace the Spearman, which continues to keep him down here in the feudal age. And you're not comfortable at this stage. You were hoping by 12 minutes you were going to almost be ready for a castle age timing. But instead, you're just being limited, right? Hard limited. And remember what we highlighted about this. The step readout now coming into effect. MarineLorD is uncontested in his base. He has a natural flow into gold vein number 2. And then over to the side, giant gold vein number 3 with no signs of pressure out of China. This is a perfect opening for MarineLorD. He was so perfect that he's moving up the Deerstone right now. He could be running out a villager and just building outposts, but the Deerstone is not serving him purpose anymore. Yeah, he's buffing the line back here, but he replaces it. I actually prefer this play. So the outpost can just stick here, and he can keep reshuffling the Deerstone for maximum value. This is actually a cool concept that not enough players engage with, right? We've seen the outpost crawl, but imagine running a villager all the way out there, trying to build that, and the risk associated. And then trying to build a new outpost and getting a villager sniped. You can't easily snipe the Deerstone. So it's just a free plant and a yam speed boost for free for MarineLorD. Meanwhile, Lancer into the back line. LucifroN now at the 59 compared to 42 for MarineLorD. Remember, though, MarineLorD, he's got 10 on the gold, 50% additional drop-off. So it's more like he's at 47 to the 60. And that is an adjustable gap, especially when you start raiding like this. Straight in with a maneuver arrow, forces the garrison, and snipes out a few villages. And then you can turn around, get through this outpost, and then kill off the 4 villages inside. And you see on the numbers, MarineLorD ahead on the gold still, not that far behind on wood and food, when you consider that LucifroN still has to make up for a difference of an age. There you go, outpost gone, village is dead, moves onto the mill, and although LucifroN has started to switch over to the farmlands, this means that he's not getting the additional surplus from the berries. That surplus was required to make a tech up feasible, and you can see it in the numbers. Look at it right now. He has 1,200 gold, not enough food. And now look, the danger. This is what he was waiting for. MarineLorD understood that he was creating this pocket, but it's not protected just yet. And he moves straight onto the village again. And he is the villain to the existence of LucifroN's economy. The Spearman not in position and not even reacting to this. He hasn't even noticed. And he's losing so many villagers. And MarineLorD, he must have this cheesy little French giggle right now. An evil laugh as he slaughters the peasantry. He chases in. He'll find even more. Finally, the reaction comes out, but the damage is done. LucifroN. Now even Stevens on the eco count, but going lower now than MarineLorD. And that number's dropping fast. The Spearman's so late to move across. Such a big error out of LucifroN. Never paying attention, never noticing due to the battering rams distracting him on the south side. The battering rams that now move in onto your military infrastructure. And this game is close to done. LucifroN, where is your bounce back? You've got surplus gold. You've got nothing else, though. No marketplace, no trade, no racks, no new units. Only archers. That's all you can get. And your opponent is building lancers. And now Mangonel as well. And that might be the final nail in the coffin. One good slam of rocks into the face of these archers, and you're all but done. And he calls it. He knows it's over. There's no way back. When he loses the infrastructure, the racks, that is when it is solidified. Nice play out of MarineLorD. Pincers on both fronts. Draws attention to the front of the base, and that is why that small raid contingent of 3 Lancers goes in and wreaks absolute havoc at a critical moment where LucifroN is weak. MarineLorD fantastically identifies when his opponent is forced into uncomfortable transitions. I love the way he played this. The walling early by LucifroN gave away his intent, right? He wanted to build in that back area. He wanted to give him a fullback. And as soon as MarineLorD sees that, he knows he can begin to pressure off the back of the Deer Stone being moved up. And more importantly, once he sees that the berries are being grabbed out of position, undefended, where there's not enough room for everyone to outpost Garrison, he feels confident about control his game. He understands that LucifroN has one fullback plan, and that fullback plan is foiled as soon as he runs those Lancers in. Really well played. MarineLorD outplaying on a micro level, and also just understanding this matchup better on a macro terms. And Generation is definitely in his favor. We highlight that already, but I think LucifroN didn't get the worst one. The one detail is the gold line. The gold line being closer would have enabled him to get quicker into that castle age, right? Because he got slowed down there, so his feudal wasn't as quick, and that did cause a ripple-on effect, but the rest of the generation was quite generous for LucifroN. That's why he set up the walls. It almost feels like that generous generation there, say that 10 times, actually baited him into a suboptimal performance leading up and beyond it, right? After that initial move up into the Song Dynasty. I actually don't necessarily disagree with Song Dynasty here. I think it is the right play, especially when your opening puts you so far away from the gold vein. You want an efficient scaling economy. The problem, and I think the point at which this game was lost for LucifroN, was around those deers. The fact that he had the idea to wall, but he didn't wall sooner, and also didn't complete the walls or keep the spearmen in location, right? In the choke point, the one area that MarineLorD can get out of, means he gets kited and MarineLorD makes off with the goodies. At that point, you don't have the deer expansion, which means you're missing out on, remember, 350 times 7. What's that? That's going to be like 2,500 food, right? Per deer. And he had both stacks right there on top of each other. So he missed out on 5,000 food surplus, which would have been gathered quicker and would have enabled him to actually gain surplus, get castle age, and then we would have had a game. Really well played by MarineLorD to identify that. Really well played by him to sneak in and yoik as much as possible. And as a result, LucifroN unable to scale his economy off the back of the double TC with the Song Dynasty. And that, folks, that is why it's important to scale your food. If you do not, you will fall behind, you will not be able to scale anymore, and you probably won't even be able to sustain your current requirements in terms of output of units. And what we see here is a masterclass in that from MarineLorD. Remember, but this time it is available. And in game number 2 of this best of 5 in the grand finals of Winter Series 1 hosted by EGC between MarineLorD and LucifroN, the Frenchman versus the Spaniard, and both of them on Boulder Bay are going to be manning heavy into that Hulk load as we go into a hybrid water map with a France-on-France engagement. Let's head across. Now ready to kick off. And the first thing I'm going to be looking at is those generations. Anyone gets a generous start closer to the coast, anyone gets a nicer layout on the initial tree lines, it could give them the edge. And this one is slightly skewed back and forth, but I think the edge might be with MarineLorD. So note that there's a quicker route towards the water for LucifroN, as MarineLorD has to go around the tree line here. And also, LucifroN is more naturally walled off to the right, but the highlightable detail, the scam moment here is, look at this. Look at the deep water fish. Look at the minimap. There are so many deep water fish locations next to the coast of MarineLorD. MarineLorD, he hit a bargain here. He can't easily access these ones courtesy of the wood line right now, but he has so many points to contest with, right? So many points he can gather from. Meanwhile, when you look across at LucifroN here, deep water fish here, deep water fish here. He does get the shortest route 1 after scouting. Nicely done by him to be patient with that. So he will be able to gather some decent rates from here to begin with. But when you expand out, I do feel like you got the short end of the stick. Meanwhile, MarineLorD, look, you drop a dock, and within a screen's length, you've already got 2 deep water fishes compared to the 1. And remember, deep water fish is a very big deal, folks. You gather, I believe it's either 0.3 or 0.4 food a second faster than any other type. In fact, if I pull up the gathering rates right now, obviously these are the fastest rates. Shoreline fish is quite competitive. And then when you look at, for example, boars, yes, they're one of the best land types outside of, like, you know, certain units gathering rates. But overall, it's all about a deep water fish, right? It's why it's painstakingly impossible to ignore the power of water on a hybrid map. I'm just getting the numbers right now because I want to make sure I'm giving the exact numbers. I've talked about them before, and I always give like a rough estimate, but it's nice to have this specific number on deep water fish, isn't it? So yeah, the shoreline fish, remember, are a harvest rate of, I believe it is by default about, is it 0.825 maybe? But then when you compare it to deep water fish are 0.3 quicker. Yeah, that's pretty nuts to think about. Remember, villages actually gather quicker than fishing boats do, but fishing boats, of course, is a different autonomous unit gathering resources, which is why it's so valuable. But for comparison, this fishing boat, it will gather out of the shoreline fish at about 0.75 range, so competitive with sheep. Meanwhile, dropping them on the deep water fish will give you 1.1 food a second. So that is a 0.35 booster of food per second. You can see how quickly that will add up. And that is why I get frustrated with these generations sometimes. Definitely weighed against LucifroN slightly. But at least he makes up for it somewhat on the map. Like we said, he has this more natural choke point. He barely has to wall anything to block in, right? That is at least a fair balance point. And he has got the majority of relics on his side if it does come down to that. I would also say that this Sacred Site location slightly favors him, right? The natural tree line being in the way, funneling MarineLorD in, means that if LucifroN does take an initial advantage, he could have the edge here on land later. But it's going to be tough to beat out the amount of deep water fish in the initial game. So it will come down to that battle on the sea. Remember, France, their timing is all about feudal. They want to get quickly into having access to the hulks. The hulks that, quite frankly, still feel quite busted for France. The interesting part for me is going to be whether either of them bothers with School of Cavalry. I think this is one of the maps where you just ignore School of Cavalry. I think the concept of having Chamber of Commerce is too powerful, right? Think about Chamber of Commerce this way. Boulder Bay is actually, in my opinion, one of the most flexy maps for trade. Trade, especially as France, on water is absolutely amazing, right? And if you push your opponent off the waterfront, you're able to begin trade via your docks across to this very safe coastal trade post. The alternative also is that you go for trade with a trade post on land, which once again, if you have the Chamber of Commerce, gives you an extra 30% return on resources. We'll have to see. Yep, Chamber of Commerce on one side, coming out of MarineLorD already. LucifroN isn't ready yet. Yeah, he got slightly delayed. The way he dragged this out, what was the stunt point? I think it was maybe because, yeah, he had to run further for the initial dock, right? So I think he was, yeah, and he just dropped off. He would have had the resources if he returned them sooner. So it seems like MarineLorD was slightly more efficient with that, and that gives him a slight edge here. But it is going to be Chamber of Commerce on the other side. And the importance of this edge shouldn't be too drastic that it immediately decides the outcome of water. Because keep in mind that while MarineLorD should be able to begin production of the hulks slightly sooner, these hulks are incredibly slow. One of the slowest ships on the ocean, and they will have to move to the other side, where by the time they arrive, LucifroN should already have a hulk out. And LucifroN actually going up to a second dock sooner than MarineLorD is. MarineLorD also has this really wonky interaction with his villager running all the way down here. Not sure what that's all about. Drunk villagers, anyone? I always love this spike clubbing. I mean, I don't like people abusing sheep. This is just a waste. No one's ever going to take this. But goddamn, is it hilarious to watch when someone wants to frustrate a player by harassing his villagers. An economy right now. LucifroN is slightly behind MarineLorD still, because remember, he had to move further to get that dock out. But because he's quicker to get this second dock down, he should be able to outmass his opponent. But MarineLorD, he's evening it up. He moves the villager across after he identifies what his opponent is doing. And his opponent did bring out 2 villagers to do this. So some lost economy there for LucifroN to try and get the edge. But now, about to complete the tech up. Is the first hulk being built yet? It looks like neither of them can afford it just yet. In fact, LucifroN has the required quantity, so he'll get his first hulk out. MarineLorD, however, is nowhere near ready. There we go. He queues it in. And this should match up. This is where it'll get wonky, by the way. It'll almost feel like, to an extent, that this could come down to RNG when we see the mid-game fight. I'm going to warn you now, it's going to be a lot of hulks firing giant ballista shots at each other, turning around like they're doing some sort of choreographed dance, right? You could just basically put on any ballet music to this, and it will fit. But one thing to highlight is that a high-level player can, in the midst of just doing circles, very quickly micro in between those. And that could occur here. I don't expect it to, just because of the nature of like drawing circles quickly with Hulks is so ridiculous. And that means that this might somewhat come down to a coin flip of if someone's hitting consistently the same ship. But we have to reach that point. At the start, it's going to be 2 or 3 Hulks, and that's more micro-intensive. Keep in mind also, the person that can have the advantage is the one that chooses to draw their ships back as they get injured quicker, while also still keeping them to fight. There you can see no quick move across. MarineLorD identifies his opponent has gone for a Hulk as well, so he won't rush out here. They'll both head back and look to get repaired by their docks. And now 2 Hulk count from MarineLorD. LucifroN should be about to get second out. He's slightly behind MarineLorD here, but it's not enough to make a difference just yet. MarineLorD might try to snipe some of these fishing boats and move away. The problem is that the fog line doesn't support him right. The stealth C isn't good enough here. However, LucifroN pulls back just in time. And now he's fine to push his opponent away. There is no sneaky stealth C right next to the fishing lines, by the way, on either side. So there's no exploitable element to consider here. It's not like you're going to be able to weave through here and instantly turn up on someone's economy line. Had MarineLorD played towards this fishing site, yes, 100%. But that is part of the reason why he didn't do so. It wasn't just that this was the slowest route to put out dock next to deep fish. Even afterwards, he hasn't utilized this one because it's dangerous. Your opponent could be hiding here in range without you realizing, and he could snipe several ships before you back away. So up to 3, and once again, LucifroN behind, but MarineLorD, he's not looking for a fight. He's just trying to push him off. And look at this, LucifroN, he sneaks around. He actually plays him like a fool. Snipes out one of the fishing boats, and now he has to fall back to deal with this Hulk. And while that's happening, 4th Hulk is being built. Same on the other side. But now, fishing count, MarineLorD up at 7. Meanwhile, LucifroN is up at 9. And keep in mind that also, originally, MarineLorD was finding value in forcing his opponent to stop gathering, occasionally pulling the ships back. He just done the same thing to him. He does that one more time, they're even footing there. But considering that he has more ships, he's already ahead of you, right? And in go the Hulks again. No repairs yet from MarineLorD on this frontal Hulk. And it means it's going to take a lot of hits. Nice draw fire. I like the way LucifroN pulled that. He reformed, turned around, and pulled the injured one back, so he spread out the damage better. And that's going to force MarineLorD to repair this. And you can see he's trying to cycle it down quickly. Remember that you can lose fishing boats in the midst of this, though, so it's not good for MarineLorD to have to commit them to the front. However, it's also cannon fodder drawing fire. But it evens out nicely for LucifroN. LucifroN could back away now if he chooses, and he will do so. He needs to be careful with his fishing vessels, though. Fishing vessels very far out in the open sea. Cycling. Bringing them low, and MarineLorD is losing it again. LucifroN is outdoing him. And he backs away. He keeps the Hulk alive. And he's replacing it with a new one soon. He does lose another one of the Hulks in the meantime, but it's a trade out. MarineLorD now starting to lose this. LucifroN looking very much alive. Fishing fleet is going to come out to repair, something that LucifroN is not using just yet. He falls back entirely. He should really be utilizing this the same way MarineLorD is. And now, look, his fishing fleet is exposed sitting here. It is at least drawing fire, and he's going to get another Hulk. He snipes another out. LucifroN is optimizing this perfectly. He's baiting MarineLorD in constantly, and he's never getting good trades for it. Oy, oy, oy. LucifroN now getting the mirror matchup, refusing to give it over easily to his opponent. Now, lost economy while you repair up the Hulks, but saved economy in the fact that they are not sunk, right? Count now is in your favor. Your opponent is still pressuring forward. 3 Hulks versus the 5, and the damage you've done is about to be repaired. And it's repaired enough that he can push out. Now 6 Hulks to your 3. He's got another one coming out soon. And even send some fishing boats out to keep repairing. We'll keep pushing Hulks. You never stop. Once you get a number advantage, keep going until your opponent's off the water. Don't say, oh, I can stop and go fishing boats. That's how you lose games more often than not. You can't gamble that your opponent isn't continuing Hulk production unless you see no more Hulks. I'm pushing on the home field, but enough Hulks here to make MarineLorD a very sad boy. Cycling around. Drawing one back. LucifroN has got a heavily injured Hulk here, and it is being prioritized by targets right now. However, 2 on the front. 2 sink for him. Evens out to the 1 sunk. And heavy damage in the meantime on a second one to MarineLorD's. And the fishing fleet is gone. And the repairs, they've been ignored. LucifroN still has his fishing ships here, but they're not repairing just yet. But he does have the numbers. He's pushed him out. The fishing boats cannot repair quick enough, and MarineLorD down to 1 Hulk is going to be pushed off the water. He calls the GG. He does not wait around. And this just got more interesting. 1-1 scoreline already. Quick games back-to-back. No one looking to fatigue themselves out. And in a best of 5, you can somewhat afford this. The importance of it cannot be understated, right? You don't want to be tilted. You don't want to be on edge. You don't want to spend an hour in a game that you're already this far behind in. He respects that the power of France on water matters too much here. It's your biggest strength for this stage in the game. Your opponent has it too because he's mirror matched to you, and you've been forced off the water. And that's why he GG's out, because you know that on Boulder Bay especially, your opponent will start to engage with trade. And your attempts to get back on the water will be futile for quite a while. And considering you did not snipe out your opponent's fishing economy and he sniped out all of yours, it means that you can't even argue that he has this dead investment on the water, at least for a few minutes, as he has to replace his fishing boats that are now lost. Instead, MarineLorD knows when he's beaten, taps out. Really well played by LucifroN to now even this up 1-1 apiece. Short break, then we go into the third game. And remember now, that is Mongols eliminated and China. Right, so China eliminated for LucifroN, France eliminated for LucifroN. And on the other side, Mongols and France now gone for MarineLorD. 1-1 apiece. This is going to go the distance, folks. It's going to come down to quite the slog, and we're going to get to see the inefficiencies as people move into the less experienced civs. So stay tuned. Okay, looks like it's going to be a remake on the game, so apologies for that, folks, but it seems that MarineLorD had a crash. In the last minute gameplay, he wasn't really even moving his units. It meant LucifroN had, I guess you could say, a little bit of an advantage that maybe come the other side. So we're going to come back to this. Ignore the score. It is not 2-1. It is 1-1 as we return once again onto Confluence for the matchup again between China and the Delhi. Now, opening-wise, what we saw last time is a hard aggression onto the waterfront out from LucifroN, but this was counted out very early by MarineLorD. Interesting to see how the adaptation is going to come out. This generation is very different to the previous one, by the way. I would say, actually, this one, looking at the layout, there's a lot more free turf here for LucifroN. And MarineLorD, this is kind of a con. Look at the layout. Like before, he had access to the very corner. He was going to be able to place down his keep in a golden location, potentially. He doesn't actually have that option available to him anymore. I feel a bit I'm a bit not disappointed, but I'm a little bit upset for MarineLorD. In fairness, though, like it was his internet that gave way, right? Or PC or whatever it was. If it was his internet, it's sad, but we can't punish LucifroN for it. Seed generation, I think it kind of had to be a different random seed. Just otherwise, like the whole concept of scouting a fog disappears from the game. And we're not StarCraft. We don't have fixed maps, so it wouldn't make sense to run the same map. So we do get a new generation. A generation that in some ways feels better for LucifroN. Stone, gold. Where's the gold? Gold's not too badly situated, actually. Sacred Site is easily defensible. Overall, do I feel like anyone got screwed in this generation? This gold line is a bit frustratingly far away from MarineLorD. I think he got more real estate compared to last game, so if he plays one island, I think he's a bit better off than previously. Meanwhile, LucifroN actually has less woodline to work with this time, I think. So, in some ways, LucifroN getting screwed a bit. This is a stupid... What? How is that considered a cluster of trees? One side has 5 big bulks, the other has 3... and then this tiny, pitiful excuse for a tree line. Okay, let me just take a shot to that. Opening-wise, we are seeing the double scout as usual. LucifroN already getting 2 fishing boats out, and you can see that MarineLorD has snuck onto the front as well, early like he does. Hasn't moved a villager yet to wall this up. Usually he does wall this area, and this area is insane value to wall this time. Compared to last game when he done it, he had 4 fishing spots up here. If he walls this time, it's 6. Which means easy, protected 6,000 food. And there we go. Villager moving out now. Wall going down. And this time, oh no, the difference. LucifroN, he's moving quicker. MarineLorD, he was delayed on moving out. I don't know if he's going to get this up in time. This is a big mistake. And this could cost him dearly if he fails here. Oh my god, he's failed it. LucifroN blocks it and moves in. And 3 fishing boats. It would take a while, but it's going to eventually start sinking these fishing boats. You can see the damage, right? The difference last game is LucifroN waited until he had about 5, possibly 6 surplus before he went for this push. Because the whole idea is he wanted to quickly snipe out the fishing boats before they docked in, right? Before they banked. In this situation, you can't do that. So he has to go early. It's not going to be as efficient, but it's going to cause some issues in MarineLorD's lines. And he's going to have to micro intensively back and forth every time. And it's going to be wonky whenever he actually ungarrisons units here. So LucifroN right now, this is just his sole focus. He doesn't have to worry about much else. He can also send up more fishing boats if need be. But right now, 3 is good enough to harass your opponent's economy and shut him out early. And this would be such a frustrating way for this remake to end. If being shut out at this point led to a point where MarineLorD couldn't recover. There you go, garrisons again. As you can see, you heal when inside the dock. Which is how he's getting away with this. But it's just slowing down the efficiency, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 more of these fishing boats being ran up. Right now, LucifroN just needs to reach that sustainable number, right? Where he's getting enough food to keep pushing out villages. And then anything additional can go up here to burst your opponent off of the water. There it is again. I have to give credit to MarineLorD. So far, he's getting away with this. He's not gathering the full food load, so he's losing some efficiency. But it's the fact that his opponent has 3 boats here, right? The problem is that these 3 boats is not quick enough to catch you off guard and kill a unit. At the same time, with 2 garrisoning in at a time, there's enough room to then break them out and put the 3rd one in. And that's why he's getting away with this. Kind of incredible the way he's actually managing to just exploit this to the maximum. And LucifroN still not sending any more fishing boats over means he won't be able to sink any of these. And it means that MarineLorD is almost ready for a tech up. And look at the anarchy. There's a lot more harassment in the early game this time around. It's almost like because they understand each other's openings, the way they've played the game is completely changed. And there we go, Imperial Academy. So MarineLorD, because of this factor that he doesn't have the best location this time around, and he knows this, he doesn't go for the Bargainer Sun aggressively placed. Instead, he goes for the Imperial Academy, which makes a lot more sense considering he can't actually reach this choke point effectively. He would basically be covering 1 straight, which means he'd still be exposed on the other side to naval dominance out of LucifroN. And spears now from LucifroN. He's going to wall this in. Wow. I think he also did snipe one of these fishing boats. Was it 6 here before? It might have been. And now, yeah, look at the frustration. Actually decides he doesn't want to be here. He sees the tech up, so he'll wall it up and move away. So this will at least slow down his opponent. And the importance of this is now LucifroN can fall back, gather what he needs for the tech up, and then he can try and match his opponent on the water. Because the mistake he made here is he dropped the racks, right? Because he wanted to wall that in, because he went for that cheesy play, it means he spent 150, then he spent the investment on the spears as well, and it means that he's slow on the tech up, and it means that he can't defend himself against the incoming junks. And movement out, MarineLorD. I don't think he's going to be spotted doing this either. So he can pinch his opponent. Now he has to deal with this frustration. But like we said, he's already been on the 2nd dock, right? So he will break out. And look at this. LucifroN's moving the spears across. This is so frustrating. If you want impressive gameplay, this is what it's going to look like. After you see the way your opponent is going to play in this matchup just a moment ago, the way that we see LucifroN adjust, it's like he's just tried to quickly, after one sitting, perfect the deli opening. Because this is 10 times better. Your opponent beats you on the tech up in the feudal, but he has no way of utilizing the water right now. He can't actually push that advantage of finally getting out and breaking into feudal. But he does sneak this one in. Now, Lucy, come on. If you want to be smart about this, bud, wall along still. Don't just put a palisade. Come on, don't walk away like this. Don't look at me when I'm talking. Okay, it looks like he's going to let him get the galleys out then. And that's going to be a problem. LucifroN, he's halfway on the tech up, so he will start getting some ships out. But remember, this was all in a 1 dock play, right? He hasn't built a 2nd one yet compared to the first game where he went 2 docks pretty rapido. At least the cool thing for him, that Bargainer Sun that we said isn't going to go down anytime soon, it means that all these central deposits that are closely clustered, you're seeing he's fully milking them right now. Oh, the outpost forced out after he sees the spears, so he's protected there. Meanwhile, more walls going down the other way across this time. He's just trying to keep his opponent boxed in as best he can. not allow for an early raid, and if he chooses to rush up into Fire Lancer territory, at least this way, LucifroN will get the early heads up that's coming and can adjust. LucifroN, Moss dropping, Dome of Faith, building into those lads. We never actually see the Tower of Victory right now. The Tower of Victory is quite bugged. It doesn't actually give the appropriate attack speed to all units. Some miss out on it. For those that aren't familiar, the Tower of Victory, the way it works is it gives a permanent 15% attack speed boost to any unit that walks near it. Very powerful in late game. But it means you're sacrificing this early game presence of Scholars at a cheaper mark of half the cost that allows you to quickly research early on and potentially eco boom and tech boom up a bit better than you would otherwise. This is kind of depressing to watch. But it's fine. It's a distraction. The junks move in. And the Dow Archer ships are being built. Home territory as well, remember. And look at that. Barbican's now going to be dropped. MarineLorD's moving out. Spearman will be spotted, so the Galley will snipe them out. Or junk, rather. And now, with Dow ships starting to come up, he'll back off for the moment. But he just wants to cover the Barbican going down. So he has some centralized control and also will scale better in his base, remember? Song Dynasty giving that reduced 35% reduction in terms of villager production speed, going down to 13 seconds, right? So right now, Eco front, they're matched neck and neck. LucifroN will have to transition into TCs if he wants to keep up. And also these mosques. Not the worst play in the world. I think the way that I would love to see players utilize mosques a bit better is if you start daisy chaining out. There's no real reason to not be daisy chaining here. The reason you want to do so is if you can reach the dock, remember, you then get the boosted research speeds to the dock as well. And that means you can very quickly get your hands on extended lines that right now isn't feasible due to the fact it takes 6 minutes and 15 seconds to research. A new dock right next to the fort. So MarineLorD now has half of the river secure, right? Because LucifroN played heavily into this east side. He doesn't have access on the west now. And now the harassment can begin, right? The Barbican Sun in range of the dock will do decent damage here alongside the junks. And in the north, in the meantime, push through, breaks the walls, and goes straight in for the fishing fleet. And there's a lot here. And the Dows, they're quick enough to start sinking these. There's not enough room to garrison them all. MarineLorD, he gets caught with his trousers around his ankles. And the only trade he really has is to try and go for the economy of his opponent now, because he won't be able to sink the Dow ships quick enough. Chase is on. Fishing ships running home to daddy, telling him what the mean bully done. And now with all the junk showing up, they might be able to sink a few of these, but remember the Dows move extremely fast. 1.88 tiles, and you no longer have the repair coming out from the docks. So you're still going to lose a few. And you see it, he cuts him off as well. That's most of the fishing fleet gone now. Down to 8. It's going to be 6 by the time you're in safety. And even then, I think the Dows keep committing. Worst case scenario. If anything, right now, if you're MarineLorD, you need to be pushing in and attacking his fishing line. Doing this right now, trying to protect your own, isn't working. And you're seeing how he's suffering. He'll try and rebuild in the north in the meantime and cut them off here. But his junks are heavily damaged. And the Dows are coming out quick enough with the fishing ships to make a difference here. Oh, no wood. MarineLorD, he can't repair these anymore. He got decent value out of it, though, so he will sink the Dows in the end. Clutch play there. If he ran out of wood a little bit sooner, I think he loses 3 junks here. But able to hold his opponent at bay, and now he's TC booming. Meanwhile, on the other side, no similar move. LucifroN, he's rushing up to age 3, which means he's forsaking that TC boom. He's delaying it until later. But this does mean that he's going to have the advantage on the lake, courtesy of the explosive Dows, right? Like, these river controls will go in his favor just like last game at this rate. The key detail here is the bagglers don't matter. The attack ships for Delhi suck. It's all about the boom ships. And with this Barbican Sun right on the river base, you could even snipe that out alongside a dock. There you go. New rage has been reached. LucifroN not ready. Remember, he stopped off for that second TC. Eco count right now, 57 to 53. I don't think MarineLorD is wrong in this, by the way. He needed the secondary TC after he lost that much of his fishing fleet. Even though he's salvaged some of it, it was too big of a dent to not play with a different advantage. Can we talk about these relic generations? Good lord. I mean, in fairness, MarineLorD has a long way to run. That was the other frustration about this generation. This new generation, right? Like, LucifroN lost out in some ways, but so did MarineLorD. Because MarineLorD he has got a bigger island, and long-term, yes, that is good. But in the early game, it means it's harder to get out and get your dock down quickly, as well as wall in time. And that's why we saw these shenanigans happening around here previously from LucifroN, just in the nick of time before his opponent could block it in. And there's the boom ships. He didn't trigger the detonation, though. It's taken a while, but they are slowly sinking this dock. And he's still only on 2 docks right now. Meanwhile, looking to get MarineLorD down to none. Has moved in the Spearman. And there are no defenses here right now. MarineLorD trying to hoard somewhat, right? You can see on the gold front, like, he's got surplus to build more, but he's just choosing not to. He needs to sort his food, and then he needs to just boost up into castle already. There you go. Junk will come back. It does take a while to get through the spears, though. And the damage is kind of already done. They snipe out the villager. This dock is going to fall regardless. I don't think he can even get a villager out quick enough to stop it. Yeah, not with the commitment out of the remaining spears. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dow's move in again. Straight onto the fishing boats again. MarineLorD, this is kind of a ploy, though. He keeps playing with LucifroN around this because he does want some control as the game goes on. But remember, because he's scaling with the TCs, he's not actually suffering as much as LucifroN might think. And LucifroN hasn't scouted this out recently, so he doesn't know about the secondary TC. He only knows his opponent got Song Dynasty because it makes sense for the Barbican Sun defense here. A lot of fights going on, mainly just scouts, a few horsemen coming out in the meantime. And remember, LucifroN does have the ability to stonewall you in now. He isn't playing into it just yet. He hasn't even started gathering in the stone lines. But I think, yeah, that's switching up now. 8 people across. He'll be able to afford to pin you in very quickly here. And you are not ready yet. You're still saving. You almost have the required amount for the castle age. The good news about China is they do build quickly, right? So it doesn't take them long. And look at this switch up. Compared to previous games, going into the archery range spam, is this going to be a Zhuge Nu play? It's quite the gamble. In theory, it could pay off, but I don't know. I would prefer Palace Guard. Palace Guard spam in this game right now would have felt good, but he feels delayed. So we've dropped the archery ranges. Could be that he's just looking at normie archers. I think that's maybe just a bit better, right? Archers move quicker. They're cheaper as well. At least they don't cost you gold anyway. But I can't think what else this is. I mean, probably crossbows. It has to be crossbows. He's not producing this yet, so he's prepping for crossbows. He's anticipating that because he's against a Delhi player, it's going to be the man-at-arms spam, which is a fair assessment, right? Most of the time it is. I would also like to see 1 or 2 stables prepped in prep for the Castle Age twice, right, where he goes into the Yuan Dynasty, because I think those Fire Lancers were fire last time. They've done so much damage to LucifroN's economy, and if he's playing on 1 TC, which you don't know for sure, but say he is, replacing that is going to be nigh on impossible to do quick enough. Boom ships getting rid of junks. New age has begun. MarineLorD is up in the good times. Castle age reached. And straight away, you can see he queues it up. Explosive junks coming out. I understand the importance of explosive junks to balance the game, but my god, does it just feel like most war maps are simply decided by who has more boom ships, right? It's all that comes down to is the demolition. Definitely think that's going to get tweaked. We know it's bugged, right? A lot of people have identified this. If you manual trigger detonations, you do more damage. And then, of course, explosive tech in Imperial Age is, quite frankly, the most broken piece of tech in the game right now. Not only increasing the damage of your incendiary ships by 40%, but also the blast radius. Yeah. Just let that soak in for a moment. Explosive junk not being used against the spearmen. Oh, no! If he'd done it straight away, LucifroN wasn't looking. Neither of them were looking. In the end, LucifroN reacts. Only loses 1 of his spearmen. Meanwhile, still no TC boom up. Well, on the side, not successful. This is where you go in my relics. And there you go. Temple already being built. So MarineLorD, he's going to yoink these 2 easy peas. No way that LucifroN can stop him. And just now trying to get through the passage slowly but surely while keeping the pressure in the center. And the boom ship! Big value. What, 5, 6? There's so many sails sinking to the bottom of the ocean. Well played to sneak that in. And now the transport ship play again out of LucifroN. LucifroN is garrisoning the scholars as well for the racks. So he's going to try for the cheeky play again. This will be more effective than last time. Last game when he tried this, the game that we had to reset, he'd done it after his opponent had gone into the Yuan Dynasty, which meant he had that movement speed, meaning his villagers with the wheelbarrows were moving at about 1.5 tiles almost, which made them impossible to gap close upon, even after a forced march. So this could be better. And also remember, Compound of the Defender, if his opponent isn't ready in his base, he'll be able to wall in and then quickly just siege him with the towers. Now, keep in mind that MarineLorD does have crossbowmen, so it might be difficult to get close. And oof, wait, no, did he lose the spearman? No, he's running them around, okay. Deep breaths, deep breaths. LucifroN playing with literal fire as these demo ships run in for the explosions. Hello. But right now, MarineLorD, he's producing enough to outpace his opponent, it feels like. Because look, this is the thing. You reach the straight, you have to cover two directions, right? MarineLorD is coming at you from 2 different angles, and he's sneaking in demo ships slowly but surely. You can see it once again. Boom in. Should have went for the dock. A little bit of a waste to not do that. Get rid of the dock, slows down the rate at which he's pushing out boom ships, and allows you to push deeper. So missed opportunity there. These crossbowmen. Kind of revealing the plan a little, aren't we? And that means that these all belong to LucifroN. And this is the weakness of what you've done, right? You've only gone and dropped archery ranges. You have no quick way out. He's going for the stables now. So he's trying to rectify this. But he's still not up and ready with the fire lancers, right? He hasn't gone for his second landmark yet. Meanwhile, TCs are there now. Immediately, you look away for a moment, you come straight back. LucifroN now on 3 town centers, and this time he doesn't have to worry about raiding. He's addressed that problem. This early palisading has completely changed the game, and I'm somewhat starting to feel bad for MarineLorD, considering that last game was fairly even. This one is leaning heavily towards LucifroN as the minutes go on. MarineLorD, one advantage he has right now is the eco count, right? With his double TC in the Song Dynasty, his fishing fleet as well, you can see that he's actually surpassed LucifroN, now up 111 compared to 74. But in the next few minutes, LucifroN, with the trip TC himself, will recover. No, the boom ship! Oh my god! LucifroN! He sneaks it in, MarineLorD, with this trivial task. Loses so much of his effective economy. His military force diminished. What was that, 20 crossbowmen? Think about the cost, folks. These crossbowmen, each of them 80 food, 40 gold. He just lost 1,600 food and 800 gold. That, for reference, is his Yuan Dynasty. And then some. And now he immediately goes defensive. He doesn't know if there's a force waiting outside his base. He drops a keep in a very defensive location, not even at the ford. He's paranoid. And new walls going up. Entrances as well from LucifroN. He smells blood in the water and he pounces. Meantime, waterfront, no progress. Instead, look, he moves in with a transport ship. And enough spearmen here to start getting through the outpost fairly quick. And he should be reproducing that line, right? He should be building more quickly to just funnel across with the transport ship. And you need to be careful. Crossbowman coming out. Don't get too close to the coast, son. Don't do it again. Looks like it's not going to be a problem this time around, but you're starting to lose the docks now. The demo ships have reached you back here. And it's gone. There you go. Sunk another dock. He's only got the left side now. And we'll have to rebuild the outpost in the meantime. LucifroN not able to do enough damage to this Barbican Sun. He'll just try to bypass it straight into the fishing lines, but too greedy. Won't be able to make it. And now MarineLorD almost ready to go into the Yuan Dynasty should he choose. If you look at the numbers, he's actually very close. But right now, MarineLorD, excessive amount of wood. This is covering his switch over into the farm economy. But he's already there, right? It's 60-60. If anything, he maybe needs to just trade some of this for gold. It might be he's prepping for a siege army. It also does allow him to keep pushing out the fleet, right? Because remember the cost here. Demo ships cost 160 wood, only 80 gold. And these demo ships are ineffective for LucifroN. He can't get past the snipe line, right? Oh. Right. And now 3 sacred sites. That does mean LucifroN is getting huge gold treacle. Look at the income per minute. You can see he's competing, and guess what? You're going to cringe a bit, but LucifroN, 0 people on gold compared to 8 working it for MarineLorD. And yet he has superior income there. Now, finally trying to siege through. Keeps his crossbowman back this time. Isn't going to get caught out like he did last time by a demo ship. No, no. He will break out. But there's enough time that you could try and build. But look at this move out of MarineLorD. He covers the straight, so you can't actually wall this up. You're going to get sniped before you get a chance. And, oh, the villagers. Lucy, buddy, get him out. Get him out fast. Just in time. Goes in the siege workshop. But now the army's moving in. MarineLorD on the neutral island. Meanwhile, fishing boats trying to move around. Cannot do so. Lance is scouting around the sides here. Walls are down on the east side, so he doesn't have to worry about his back for the moment. But the west side is a problem, and that's why he's building into the siege workshop. Although it takes a while, Springwoods will eventually kill this ship. The problem is if MarineLorD replaces it with 2 or 3 more junk ships. Then what do you do? Other than cry to the admin. I don't know what you cry about this time. Well, actually, in fairness, LucifroN, he had a win. It was taken away from him. There are some things to cry about here. And now Wall's actually going down for MarineLorD. Decapping the Sacred Sites has 200 gold per minute that's being stripped away from LucifroN. And now you could expand onto this island. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does exactly that. MarineLorD, look, he's capped on the eco, right? So you can actually afford to risk some of your villager count and then leave some reserve resources here in case you need it later on when you push back, right? Even more outposts. I love the outpost play. The switch up compared to last game has completely changed the dynamics of the water engagements for MarineLorD. And look at the explosive dows. So many, but no, they're not going to make it through. MarineLorD says, hey, honey, what up? He doesn't detonate, though. He's not looking at it. And that means his fishing economy is done. Boom. Docks as well. LucifroN actually not taking out the fishing boats. He's prioritizing the dock instead. And he'll turn around now, and that is going to be a lot of economy lost. Booms in. So many ships sunk. Missed opportunity there. MarineLorD wasn't watching this. He was busy raiding the base. He's already reached LucifroN's island. Oh my, oh my. And he's pushing through. He'll get eyeballs on the TCs. Crossbow army is still decent here. Mowing through any trickle out of man-at-arms and spears. And the Mangonel could have shot so long ago. Will finally get shot out, but is going to get killed by the crossbows. Damage is not good. It hits where the lumber camp is, so it hits next to nothing. And this means that the crossbow army has paid for itself, right? Which is an acceptable outcome considering what happened previously to the crossbow army for MarineLorD. So he keeps a decent amount of life. He'll snipe out the stragglers, and he gets 2 Mangonels worth of damage in here. Mangonels aren't cheap. 800 wood and 400 gold just like that disintegrates into nothingness. And meanwhile, he moves in with his own little group, but there are crossbowmen back here, so it's not going to be very effective. On LucifroN, you can kind of feel control slipping away, right? He had his opponent pinned in at one point. He wiped the army. Now, all of a sudden, that new army is in your base. Running around going, yo, I'm hearing rumors about explosive junks and the people we replaced. No, Johnny, no. Just focus on the crossbow, all right? Fire the crossbow. Nothing happened. What are you talking about? Explosive junks? What are those? We don't know what those are. Crossbowmen just nod their head and go, right then. I believe you. You're trustable. As they move in and raid further, and this one Lancer still hasn't been addressed. He'll finally be sniped out. Took long enough. Mangonels. Ooh, nice hit. So the crossbows, if they get any closer, they could finish off the Mangonel. They still could, actually. But no, the splash! That's unfortunate. MarineLorD, had he microed that, he would have sniped another Mangonel. And that would have been a huge eco hit. But remember, this was just a Vanguard. He's been rebuilding his main base. It's bought him time. And now moving out in the berry bushes as well, stripping away anything and everything he can. Remember, he has his stone wall down as well, has control of the strait, and there's no way for MarineLorD to be contested here still by LucifroN. Oh, wow, he actually calls it. He thinks it's, oh, what? No, please tell me this is not another DC. No, please, tell me this is not another DC. My heart couldn't handle it. LucifroN taps out. Now, to his credit, MarineLorD was starting to control that game. He was choking him out. He was running out of resources on his primary island, but it makes no sense to me that he tapped out that early. Wow. All right, LucifroN, I don't know if it's the frustration of being robbed of the first one or what, or the exhaustion, but he's done with this game. He felt that it was slipping away, and I have to agree, MarineLorD was slowly but surely taking control of the map, and as a result, he will preemptively GG out before his opponent just ends it for him. And in fairness, the scores show this, right? Look at the scores right now. The military, the economy especially, the economy booming was the difference, right? He's being raided, he's not able to raid his opponents, and as a result, you can see he's starting to fall behind. It's not the big bang you expect to end a game, but I have to give credit for LucifroN, the logic behind this, right? He knows he's likely to lose this in the next 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. You could wait around and hope MarineLorD makes a mistake, or you can move on to the next game. And the difference is that you're possibly on tilt from being robbed of that previous game that was fairly even at that stage. This game, however, you're starting to fall behind. It's getting late. The games have been delayed. You've still got more games to play, right? You are now one game from losing, but you have a little bit of drawback. Would you rather play this game out for another 20 minutes and lose and be tilted in the final game? Or would you soft reset your mind and go into the next game, potentially even this up? Because now MarineLorD is up over LucifroN. 2-1 is the score. 2 more games potentially ahead of us in this best of 5. Stay tuned, and shortly we'll return for game number 4. Where the civ count of available choices to the players becomes very limited, and we start to see who is the more diverse force to be reckoned with here in Age of Empires 4. But it looks like it's time. We're ready to get underway, folks. LucifroN versus MarineLorD, game number 4, and we were right. It's going to be LucifroN on the Mongols, which he saved from earlier on. He didn't use them just yet. And his opponent, it is going to be the Abbasid dynasty for MarineLorD. And I'm not surprised by this choice. Like I was just highlighting, Delhi feels a little bit wonky if it's not a water-based map. And at the same time, like HRE against Mongols, I feel like you're going to get raided too hardcore. Now remember, LucifroN lost this game, which means he chose Mongolian Heights. He wanted this as the Mongols. And although you might be baited into thinking that you could play into this as Delhi, and we have seen Delhi players dominate here on Mongolian Heights, I have to say it takes a lot of skill and understanding of the game to choose Abbasids over Delhi as MarineLorD here. The reason being that going for Delhi in this type of map is a bait. It seems good initially due to the river map, right? The fact that you can get down a dock quickly, you can harass him off, control the choke points with the fishing boats. But we've seen multiple times now, Mongols actually enjoy countering that play due to the outpost spam. And because of the layout of the map, and because it's a straight line, that's a great intersection with choke points you can hold with these defenses of outposts and early spearmen to garrison them, it means that a Mongol player, although he will not initially be on the water, he will, by the 20-minute, 25-minute mark, be in control of the water. And that's why we see him playing into Abbasid instead. Because Abbasid have a lot more ability to boom on land sooner compared to the Delhi. And early on, we are just going to see the walls being dropped. Doesn't want to get raided on the dock, right? Wants to get the value out of the early fishing boats, buy enough time. Remember that when you're up against these Mongol players, they burn things, they set on fire. The moment they do, they get 50 food and 50 gold. So he's worried about the early racks drop, and he should be. It's already there. LucifroN understands his opening in this matchup. It's similar to Delhi, but it's easier to apply aggression. Up against Delhi, you have to worry about weaving around the fishing boats. Up against Abbasids, not at all. And looking at this spawn, by the way, not the best for LucifroN, I have to say. This wood line has forced him into an uncomfortable position because of how far his gold vein is away and also the backup berry bush he wants to resort to. Luckily, you can usually dodge out that berry bush, especially on a water hybrid map, so you don't worry about that. But the gold vein is frustrating, and the follow-up gold vein is worse. Look at this. So I hope he identifies this. He has scouted out. I want to see him play the step read out over here. The problem is afterwards, he has such a long trek. What you usually want is you want a kind of a natural flow of the step read out movement. Like, if you could start here and then click through and then make your way in a direction, right? Instead of being forced into a situation where you maybe double back on yourself. If you look in comparison, right, I kind of like MarineLorD's where he could have went to this one and then you could push forward to these central ones. Or even go up in the north for 2 more, right? In fact, can we just talk about how outrageous that is? 5 gold veins versus the 4. He has got the extra relic, so like, I guess you can kind of argue a point back slightly, but you're Mongols. You care more about the gold than you do about the relics because of how quickly you strip mine through them. And the additional value you get, right? So MarineLorD off on to the gold vein now, and I don't think there's a similar gathering. Remember, the other issue you have is you're playing on a water map. You want to get that initial dock out. You want to also get an outpost down. You can't easily afford the GUR. The GUR costs twice that of any other person's type of building, right? Like, think about lumber camps. Lumber camps cost 50. Meanwhile, a GUR costs 100. Yes, you can move it anywhere else, and you can use it for multiple resource drop-offs. But that initial investment does stun you, especially when you go into the Uvu Rax opener. And look at this, the transport play! What the... LucifroN! I love this guy. This is so cheeky. And look, the outpost is so far away. Whoop-de-doo, LucifroN doesn't care. So he's going to raise this dock pretty quick. You won't be able to protect it. If you want to, you're going to have to invest a lot of villages to do so. And yeah, the scouts can't stop you either. Wow. And it's such a pricey loss, right? You're up to 4 fishing boats at this stage. You don't feel good. What a move out of LucifroN. I barely see anyone utilize transport ships early, yet in this tournament, multiple times now, we've seen them come out, and we've seen them be incredibly powerful here. And the Spearman chasing away, stopping the outpost crawl. Even if you get the outpost crawl in, these Spearmen should be good enough to take out the dock. And if you weren't sure if they were, adding 2 more to the count will definitely guarantee it. There you go. Outpost gets complete. Yes, you can garrison it, but not before he raises this thing to the ground. And the village is running out. He can stab them now. He can kill them. He's going to switch targets. Even if you keep the dock up, the value is going to be lost anyway in the village account. And there you go. Turns every time, baiting his opponent in. Stabs away, turns around, stabs away, turns around. And there's only so long you can keep doing this with the villagers before they're too low health to keep going in. Yes, the spear count is going down, but now even more spears coming in, some of them joining in the fishing boats. And your villagers, they're too weak now. And he might get this in the corner. Yeah, he's out of range. He's actually out of range with this. One villager is going to be matched by the burn rate of these 3 spearmen as well. And that's why he needs to get more out. And the anarchy of this from LucifroN. The hard investment, even if you keep this alive, how many villages has it cost, right? You lose a few, you invest many into the repairs. It means that you're not able to keep them elsewhere. And when we look at the count, LucifroN 10, 12, 1. 4, 12, 2. You already noticed the difference, right? MarineLorD feeling pressured at this stage. And a new outpost going down. This is a good one. The outpost crawl is complete. This was a hefty investment, mind you, right? It's 100 per outpost. Your opponent got 50 food and gold for raising this the first time around as well. And he sniped 1 or 2 of the villages. And it looks like the outpost race is definitely going to be won by MarineLorD. LucifroN, good idea to try and get his down. This needed to be much sooner, though. I think if he came out here when he initially dropped off the transport ship, this is great. But at this stage, you're going to be beaten to the punchline in the outpost. And it means you can't do anything here. And instead, LucifroN moves away. What is the new plan? Wait, MarineLorD. What is MarineLorD doing? What is this? Is this a misclick? Oh my god. Oh my god. What are they doing here? The fishing boats. There's no reason to be here. This was some sort of misclick. They're not meant to be over here. I think he was trying to strip away some food from his opponent, but there's spears. You shouldn't be here at all. For the moment, LucifroN isn't pressuring him, but he could be if he wanted to. And instead, he's moving into the base. Look at this. Oh my god, he got spears in. So he stopped the outpost from going up, and he'll continue to prevent it. And also now MarineLorD, he's capped. He did at least get enough gold to start getting to the eco wing, but he won't be able to build surplus now. And all you have to do is keep skirting the edge here. Just stop him from completing the construction, and you're good. And more spears are sneaking in, so he's going to do exactly that. LucifroN, this early aggression is so effective. MarineLorD, he's at least keeping the fishing fleet for the time being. But looking at tech ups, LucifroN, the sacrifice he's made is he's not ready for a tech up himself. He has surplus gold, but the food is not there because he keeps pushing out these spearmen in double production. And now stabby stabby. If you can't complete this, it's going to be 50 food and 50 gold again for LucifroN. And you can see the hard investment. He's going to have to send in all the villagers. And it's close, but no cigar. LucifroN just outmanaging him here. He has to drop it. And that means that the 50 food and gold goes over to LucifroN. And now begin work on the mining camp. This is such effective raiding. It's such an underutilized element with a lot of Mongol players, right? Mongol players usually just bide their time, win the trades, go for the pro scouts. Whoop-de-doo. They don't go for the early raid. This is how Spearman is still a viable and very valuable opening. Is if you think your opponent is going to have unguarded buildings. And that's what's happened here. And even bailing on the outpost. He couldn't hang here anymore. I'm not surprised, right? Think about the way this played out. He's running out of villages. He's sacrificing here or there. He's falling behind on the eco. He actually has to pull everyone back and keep them safe. He can't afford to fall further behind the Mongol player at this stage. Because understand that once the Mongol player goes up to cast stage later, he's going to have a bigger boom than you, right? It's the step redoubt. It gives you a more effective economy. The only way you Match that as MarineLorD in the Abyssids is if you can get into the TC booming here. MarineLorD, if he can survive this onslaught, the bounce back could be strong, right? He's getting into Eco Wing now. That'll give him fresh foodstuffs access, which means cheaper villages. And that could set him up for a TC boom. But he hasn't even started gathering stone yet. He needs to react to now. And now he finally has access to the archery range, so he can deal with the spears. In the meantime, more outposts coming down. This is what we were talking about. This was the threat. The power of Mongols in Mongolian Heights. It's almost like it's their home territory, right? You just drop outpost after outpost after outpost. You create that network in the meantime to harass the fishing lines. Later on, not only does it become early vision for any ganks and raids off the flanks from your opponent, but what it also serves as is a YAM network when you get into Castle Age to boost your units and move them across the map quicker. Mine camp rebuilt. 6 spears here. Archers starting to come out. But in the meantime, you have problems. MarineLorD caught not looking again. The stabs are in. 1 villager. Going to be a second one as well. And he's losing so many. He's not paying attention. 3 villagers lost just like that. Archers looking the wrong way. And this is the problem. Maneuver arrow gets them in quicker. Stabs onto the archers before they can build up. And now the camel archer. A nice solution right now to the spear spam. However, when you get in range, it's not. Oh my god, he calls it right there. That's enough. The damage is done. He can't build up a force. He doesn't have the efficient economy anymore. What a rapid but effective opening from LucifroN, showing you exactly the value in an early transport ship, enabling you to get in on a greedy eco-based civ in the early game. Fantastic opener, fantastic way to utilize it. We said that LucifroN would do this. He didn't use Mongols as the opener, he was saving it. We expected it in game 4, and that's where we get it. When he's up against a greedy eco-type civ that you can easily punish. Fantastic opening from LucifroN, makes this a shorten, and evens it up. Now we are sitting 2-2 Lapis, which means we are going to need to go to game 5. Short break, folks, and then we return for what should be quite the epic difference of style, right? Think about what's left. Abyssids and HRE are the prime candidates right now for LucifroN. MarineLorD, on the other hand, only has Delhi and HRE. Might we be getting a Holy Roman bash? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Few minutes, then we're back. Game number 5. Sit in your seat. You don't want to miss this one. All right, here we go. Scraping the bottom of the barrel here in game number 5 between MarineLorD and LucifroN. This one has gone the full mile. And what a way to end it here on Nagari. Nagari, where, remember, MarineLorD, he GG'd, right? He had map choice. Game 5, he saved Delhi. And this is one of those maps where Delhi can reign supreme. He is going to be up against the Abyssids, though. The Abyssids capable of eco-booming themselves. But as we've seen, the dominance on the center lake that we get out of the Delhi could be the edge here. Remember, these two civs are matched up on the naval front. There is no edge, right? It's not like you get access to junks, for example. No, both of them have the same naval units, meaning you don't have that big power spike. That one up, shall we say, if you equal timing on the ages. It just means that Delhi, with their opener, will be stronger. And we see exactly that. Moves out. Dock already going down. LucifroN onto the back dock, as expected. And look at the move of the scout straight away. And I like the move by LucifroN to defend this. It's so far out that you could end up losing the villager. And that's why he turns around. Yep. And MarineLorD, can he get the edge here? It's going to be close. They're trying to cancel out attacks. No, he fails to do so. So MarineLorD needs to retreat. Dock's going to be safe now. And look at this as well. LucifroN, he's moving out onto the center lake. This will not be expected. This is actually so big brain right now. Think about it this way, folks. LucifroN, he already dropped the back dock. So MarineLorD, he's kind of confident he's safe, right? I don't really need to worry about him is what he's thinking. I'll just focus on gathering all the deep water fish on my side. I won't even check it. But no, it's not even that. LucifroN is going to sneak the other corner. Oh my god, this is so big. This is so smart. I've seen 1 or 2 players utilize this before, but not enough. I'm kind of shocked by how often it gets ignored. This is a big deal. It means that you're going to have double dock producing. It's not going to be feeling wasteful where you're going to get all the value out of one lake too quickly. It's going to give him a lot of scalability. It's not going to put him under pressure to play and dance to MarineLorD's tune, right? He doesn't have to worry about center lake Nagari as badly as you would usually in this situation against Delhi. So, with that in mind, you have to wonder what the long-term plan is. Abbasid still feels very kind of question mark, puzzly, not figured out. Before, in the Age of Springles, they did have the Man-at-Arms Springle spam, right? Solid enough, decent enough, put you through, gave you some wins. Probably better civs to choose to do that, but that was your go-to, your bread and butter. Now, I feel like in a lot of cases, Abbasid players are a little bit lost on what like the optimal composition is. They feel like kind of more of a cookie-cutter civ, right? Without a clear direction because of how weak certain elements feel, right? They're unique units. The Camel Archers aren't impressive. Camel Riders rarely seem to work out. The concept is cool, especially around the idea of auras, buffing with armor, negating a lot of damage from cavalry, but doesn't tend to work out often when you consider that the range meta is in full swing, right? So when you're going up against composite armies of like, say, 70% range units, they snipe out the camels before they find their value. And I think that's a big part of why I think Abbasids struggle right now. It's not just that Camel Archers as individual units feel underwhelming. It's that their role as a utility support type unit don't work when they're so easily sniped out. If you ever wonder if that feels right, think about the comparatives, right? Like, look at Roos. You can use the Saint's Blessing, yes, but that is a side benefit. The primary benefit is the fact that you're able to gather up relics with that unit, right? Think about Prelates. Prelates aren't front-line auras. They're economy auras. So they're a good investment. They're barely ever vulnerable. And also have the added value of later on gathering up those relics again. So if you try and think of aggressive aura units, there's not that many. And that is where we come to that conclusion, right? Like, Camel Archers, Camel Riders, it doesn't work for that reason. I think if we do shift past, if we see nerfs to ranged weapons specifically, then I expect to swing in. But we're not there yet. And I don't know if we ever will be. That's the curse and the beauty of the balance of Age of Empires 4. You can argue in some degrees it makes it harder to balance. It's just the way that ranged is designed, with the lack of an inaccuracy element compared to AoE 2, it feels very difficult for range to not feel overpowered at any stage, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying bring AoE 2 inaccuracies in on, like, you know, aim at range. I am saying that I understand why that mechanic was there, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily want to see it come into AoE 4 in full swing, just because I have to admit, it can be confusing and frustrating element to newer players. I can't think of many other games that kind of have that on the same scale of AoE 2, AoE 4, StarCraft, those type of games. A lot of those games, like StarCraft and Warcraft especially, have perfect accuracy. But the argument is, the skill gap element in the early games, instead of being your macro play and your build order, there are elements such as, if you think back to Warcraft especially, they had the whole RPG element, right? Where you leveled a hero. So what I'm getting at here, guys, is, yeah, Warcraft. AoE 4. Let's get heroes. Where's Saladin right now? Get him out here. Saladin versus... I'm not going to lie. I don't know many famous Delhi leaders or generals. Whoops. Sorry. Screw it. Just, you know what? We had Age of Mythology in the series. Let them have Ganesh. Bring that lad on through. Damn. I'm giving ideas for the custom games when they arrive, folks, and I want to see them. All right? Age of Mythology, Age of Empires 4 mashup. Let's do it. Ah, yes. Chat's helped me out with this. Salami, how can I forget? The top Delhi player, the only constant Delhi spammer. He's the hero unit for the Delhi. He just comes out wielding a giant salami that he slaps people around the face with. That can be misinterpreted. Let's move on, because we're in the middle of tech up. LucifroN almost complete with his. Meanwhile, MarineLorD has been sitting up here for a while. It doesn't matter that you cruise through a little bit slow, of course, because you aren't contesting this central lake, and your opponent is still none the wiser to this. He is moving in for a dock on the northern side, but even if he snipes that, the southern side is completely uncontested and unscouted by MarineLorD. In fact, MarineLorD, yeah, he's already scouted down here. He isn't coming back anytime soon. Now, the problem for LucifroN is he just teched up, but he has no sense of worry here. He doesn't realize that this dock is going down. And if MarineLorD waits and builds up 2 or 3 ships, he could sink it all. He could even go and tech up again and then pull out a demo ship and sink the entire fleet of fishing boats, which I'm a big fan of here. Look at his surplus. He's there already. He knows he doesn't need early military presence either, right? You're up against Abbasids. Abbasids aren't going to run at you on this type of map. Although he is prepping for it. LucifroN, almost ready for tech up. This should line up quite nicely. Fresh food stuff's about to complete. Gold is almost there. And then you can begin the tech up. Remember, these are fixed timings. Unlike other civs, the give and take, right, is that it's a fixed 2 minutes, but the kind of counter argument is that's good because you don't have to invest any villages. But it also means that when you're in dire straits and in Trouble Town, you're like, you need that tech up right then. There's no way to speed it up. Abbasids, I don't think it would necessarily be overpowered to allow them to garrison villages inside the House of Wisdom to increase the speed of a tech up. I would say it would have to be half as effective as landmark construction, though. And here's the reason. When someone constructs a landmark, there's a risk associated, right? Those villages are exposed in the open. If I allowed you to bank villages inside of a House of Wisdom, they're safe. The alternative, actually, the balanced middle ground, is making it so that if you run villages over, they basically kind of worship outside the House of Wisdom. They stand outside there, maybe they do some bowing or whatever, and that amplifies the rate at which you get your tech ups. That way, Abbasids have flexibility, because I think that is one big limiting factor alongside the lack of a unique feeling behind their camel archers and camel riders that makes them an incredibly underwhelming civ. Meanwhile, less underwhelming. MarineLorD on the other side, about to crack it up. Like we said, he's going to be quicker to this than his opponent. It's going to be House of Learning on this map. So no plans, no shenanigans around Compound of the Defender. He believes excuse me, in the value of House of Learning and is going to go straight into the Home Blades, which will only take a measly 22 minutes. Because that's what this series needs. Another 22 minutes. Nah, it won't be that quick. He'll start producing into the Scholars. You can already see his plan to bank them now. Better value this way, by the way. Yes, if he put Scholars out sooner, he would have these techs quicker. But the concept here is that this way, he scaled into Castle Age slightly quicker. And now, when he banks these Scholars, they're going to be teching up all these different buildings, right? They're going to be affecting all of them. Instead of it being originally, I got the Scholars early, I delayed the Castle Age, and then it took me even longer to get my hands on Home Blades. Although he'd say that more aggressively while slamming the keyboard, I think. As most Delhi kickers do right now. Could you imagine if Abbasids win this, by the way? I'm not writing LucifroN off, but if I was to give you this lineup and I said, it's Abbasids or Delhi, what would your reaction be? Because let's be real on this, right? MarineLorD knew that Mongols were coming in Game 4. And he chose Abbasids, right? That was the hill he chose to die on. It was almost like MarineLorD understood that no matter what he picked, it was going to feel wonky against Mongols. So he basically picked the crappiest choice available to him to get rid of the best choice for LucifroN, knowing that he had to use his ace in the hole. That boom ship, value out. Multiple times now, sinking to just 3 fishing boats. Remember, though, the southern economy is not affected. And look at this move by MarineLorD. He starts to station fishing boats. He's paranoid. And also now moving out man-at-arms across to his opponent's lines. He's going to wait until he's got maybe 5, 6, and then try and run it into the gold line. And remember that this is all being done by LucifroN off of 1 TC. And he's actually mirroring, right, in terms of aggression on the other side. It's not man-at-arms, no, but it is spears that can raid you. And here the man-at-arms. One big thing to remember, something the Abbasids get, the Delhi do not. The ability to build your siege weapons out in the field, not just crappy rams and siege towers. That means the Mangonel will be successfully complete. And then you can start rolling over. The problem is, his goal line is being rolled over right now. It is a very slow threat, though. However, once in charging range, MarineLorD can close gap. And I think production is on LucifroN's side right now. MarineLorD, yeah, he hasn't garrisoned these yet. And you can see he's now trying to make up for this. He's building additional infrastructure as well as siege workshops to counter out his opponent. And remember, he's ramping up the mosque now. He's starting to gather up the relics as well. And it means he's going to be quicker to get to these techs. But he needs to speed up faster. Home Blaze still being 20 minutes away. This game will be over by then at this rate. Especially with double Mangonels incoming. Utilizing the ability to build in the field. Getting those palisades down to delay his opponent. But too late. Charge in. Raise it to the ground. And look at this. No more pressure on the other side. Wallalol is going to be a big fat bait and a fail here. Not able to scare him. LucifroN backs away in time. And that means he's going to lose some scholars, some man-at-arms, and double Mangonel coming his way. And remember, they could still start building into rams now they've reached your base. The trickling does continue, but the numbers are clearly on the side of LucifroN here. In fact, if we look at it, military. Yeah, LucifroN, he has a decent advantage here. I think fishing boats in this situation aren't being considered aggressive. It seems to bug out. Sometimes it does count, sometimes it doesn't. But MarineLorD right now is outnumbered militarily. Oh, Mangonel. Reasonable shot, some damage done. Spiral's now coming out. Needs to be careful, needs to retreat inside the stealth forest to keep these alive. But he's looking for the value. He does snipe out some villagers, loses the Mangonel in the end though. Now he needs to be careful. Backs him in the stealth forest, there we go. That's the play he needed. And now he'll build Spirals of his own in that stealth forest. Needs to be careful. Do not trickle in troops and lose them here. It's home field and your opponent is starting to build up a force. He's built additional racks, remember. Springald sniping out. Not able to get the trade though. So MarineLorD holding fast against this push from LucifroN. LucifroN needs to get on top of the Springals quick. But the mosh pit in the center, preventing him right in the choke points. Not able to easily move past the man-at-arms. We'll be able to siege them down in the end. Gets one of the Springals, not able to find the second though. And these Mangonels are going to force MarineLorD back now. Yes, keep retreating the Springald, and this is the way it's working out. LucifroN, he's eking out on the edge of this, ensuring the Springald could not reach into the Mangonels, and instead they were reaching to him. And with the Springald gone, he's in trouble now. The Mangonels can chase in. Here we go. Backs away for a moment. Understands that really, he can just snipe what he wants, and he's looking to try and get on that Villi line. He's missing the shots though. In the meantime, nice raise there. The villager getting through the Mangonel, sniping out just in time. However, new Mangonel is being built. And this is the pressure. This is the frustration. MarineLorD, he doesn't have the surplus to support additional siege workshops. Yes, he has got reserves of 700, but 300 to build it, and then the cost of Springalds being 250 each, he would run out of resources too quick. And this is a problem. And I don't know how he solves it right now. The Mangonels are an unsolved issue, and they will remain that way. Home Blades is still miles off. And imagine what he could have done with Compounder Defender. Compounder Defender would have bought him so much time, but the time is no longer on his side. Numbers are, though. LucifroN has slowed down, but the Mangonels are making a difference still. And they're engaging. They're baiting here. One Mangonel is good enough for the moment. They back up. The Springal gets sniped out again. That's another 250 wood and gold gone. And the Mangonel, in the meantime, has already found its value. Might even get one more shot off before it burns. There it is. Shoots in. Dodge out, but now it sets fire to the racks in the meantime. And the count. 10 for LucifroN compared to the 18. He knows he's outnumbered. He will back away. But he has caused a lot of anarchy, a lot of damage, and he's hit into the economy. And now look at it. LucifroN up at 70 on the eco count compared to the 55. MarineLorD, he needs to strike back. He needs to do it soon. The problem is when you're running man-at-arms, how the hell do you do that? Chase out. More Mangonels being built. Oh no, we've seen those before. Giant rocks are no, leave me be. Back off he'll go. Look at the damage, right? The Mangonel spread. This is not good for MarineLorD. MarineLorD gets some breathing room. He needs Springalds right now. He also needs his racks to not be about to fall into rubble. Luckily, we'll get there just in time. That's another villager that's not on your lines right now. He's pulled them all away from this wood line at least, so he won't lose more. Stealth Forest. He has got superior vision here. The problem is the Mangonels. He splits into multiple groups. He's trying to use the healing from the Scholar in the meantime. Chase in. Mangonel fire. Wasted on 2 here. And now the wraparound. He backs up. LucifroN looking for the shot. Fires off. Good damage. Snipes 5 of the man-at-arms. Gonna lose one of the Mangonels, though. And now another cluster shot incoming. Not that good, though. And the Springald is sniping him down in the meantime. But the man-at-arms armor, it's good, right? The numbers are there now. LucifroN up to 21 compared to the 19 now from MarineLorD. He'll back away again. Now Caps on the south. MarineLorD trying to get that extra gold treacle at this stage in the game. Retreating out of MarineLorD's territory for the time being. Really needs the surplus for additional Mangonels. He's barely keeping in there in terms of the push out, but he's building one in the Stealth Forest. But he needs to buy time. This will be a perfect bait, but his opponent is chasing right now, and he's chasing too quick, and there's too many man-at-arms on this! And it's too close now! LucifroN backs it up. Moves it away, engages the line, and as soon as MarineLorD retreats, look what's going to happen. Turn around, fire out, the damage, the spread, it's good! Heavy hit, takes out 2 or 3, heavily injures the others. And MarineLorD once again outnumbered. And once again, the Mangonels, the bane of his existence. Where is the Springald at in all this mess? Still in his base, rolling around. And Mangonels, yes, Springalds are meant to be very effective against them, good at sniping out, but the problem MarineLorD is running into is he's never able to hit that sustained number. 3 is the magic number. That's where you snipe out Mangonels instantly. He never does it quick enough, and as a result, they get their value. And that is why LucifroN just stubbornly keeps building them. Like it doesn't matter. However, this time it will. This time he's going to lose it. Or not. No, he backs away. MarineLorD didn't even get the second shot in. So once again, 2 Mangonels. But this time, 2 Springalds. And still no Springalds being built by LucifroN. LucifroN, he could have fought them himself, but he chooses not to go for it. Chase in. Onto the Siege Workshop. This time, your tool for engineering his demise is no longer there. And that's costly. That's 300 gold. 300 wood, rather. So you're going to have to replace that, and then you're going to have the surplus to get Springalds out. You're only at 2 Springalds, and if you push in, you could lose them here. Be careful. Vision game, Stealth Forest, this positioning, it's so much better. Look at the other side, right? This is the annoyance of these spawns, right? The way it's been utilized, LucifroN understands that this Stealth Forest is making or breaking the siege. Meanwhile, on the other side, if MarineLorD was in a similar situation, it's nowhere nearby. It's not the same threat factor. And it really does show you the power of vision in this game. LucifroN once again into the deep. Another building down. No Springald still from LucifroN. Doesn't think it's needed. No further expansion in the south. He has built a Siege Workshop in a safe location now. MarineLorD going to make sure that doesn't go down again. These racks, less pricey, 150 wood, but a workshop, 300 wood at this stage. You don't want to. You can't afford to. And the problem that he has is LucifroN is in his base, and he's nowhere near running out of resources on these lakes, right? The outside lakes still have giant surpluses of resources available to him. And also now, a small contingent around the back, he can start to pinch him. LucifroN is outproducing still. MarineLorD, count now at 84. LucifroN is only at 68. How much this is locked into Springalds, how much this is locked onto the lake? Because I think it's once again bugging out. There's no way that's the full count, right? No, it's not. That's bugged. So take away a big chunk of that. Take away how many? I want to say 25 boats. 25 boats. So you put him down at basically equal numbers to LucifroN, but LucifroN is already here. And now he's getting the Springalds. 2 of them at the ready. Another building on fire distracts more of your workers in the meantime. And look at this. The movement in MarineLorD. He's trying to stop this treacle. He might just move past the wood and then straight into the villager line, right? I think he sees it. Yeah, he sees it. So why build the walls when you can go snipe economy? Problem is he needs the walls more than that. He needs to slow this down. He cannot be pincer maneuvered here. He's already been pressured on the north side. And in he goes. LucifroN trying to get top of the Springald. Springad's forced to retreat away. And that means that his Springald's going to open fire. And look at that. It's 1-on-1 now. But the Mangonel count is free. And the wraparound is going to be blocked out. He can't get on top of this. Mangonels. Good shots to come out soon if they can find it. We're looking at different targets. And the spread is wonky. They were looking the wrong place. The predictive movement works against him, and he loses the Mangonel army. He's losing the forces. And MarineLorD this time, he has the numbers. Superiorly so. 35 has force march available. And he should be using it right now. He can cut him off. He can cut off this entire force, kill them off, and then push through. Let's see if he does it. Meanwhile, south side pins those forces in. Still a few of these man-at-arms already out here, but still no usage of the forced march. A surprising choice by MarineLorD here. It's 10 seconds where you can't strike, but you can kite, and you can get between LucifroN and his retreat point. And that could have been the difference, but now the opportunity's not there. If he uses march now, he'll be in trouble. Instead, the turnaround in the stealth forest. LucifroN stands his ground. And he has superior resistance in this situation. 28 from MarineLorD, 30 from LucifroN. LucifroN should be able to take this one. Remember, a lot more heavy casualties as well from MarineLorD, courtesy of the hits from the Mangonel. And look how quickly it's going against him. Hone Blades is still not ready. Hone Blades is still 4 minutes out. And if he had it, he'd win this decisively. But instead, fairly even trade with a slight edge for LucifroN. He backs away once more. Pushes back on the south side as well. Both of them responding on both fronts. Not making it easy for either player. But the count, MarineLorD, looking good. He's ahead now. This is no longer just fishing ships messing with the count. He's actually this healthy now in his economy and his military. And all of a sudden, if we look at the income per minute, LucifroN superior barely on food. Wood, gold, all of it competitive at this stage. LucifroN is now gathering on the stone though, so he's looking for a keep drop. He wants to be in the base, staying in the base. Next time he moves in, he wants to get a keep here and ensure that any foothold he establishes is never taken away. And also now the crossbows, a switch up that we have not seen out of MarineLorD. MarineLorD, his switch up was Mangonels. He's a step behind right now. And this could spell doom. Crossbows get revealed. Mangonel shot straight in. Good hit. But he can't turn around with it. Remember, the crossbows are still a threat factor for the man-at-arms here. And the number count is still in favor of LucifroN. But he does have control in the south. And there's the keep down defensively, but so many of these man-at-arms running in from MarineLorD. This is turning into quite the bog fight. Every push forward, every step is hard fought for in this game. And as you move through no man's land, who will be into the trenches first? Because right now, MarineLorD looks like he's got open access to the base. The problem is that there are crossbowmen amassing here. With the keep as well, he's once again outmatched. He needs archers or something else to deal with the crossbow mass. The Mangonels can be good, but he only has one. And there's two Springles here. Good hit initially. Backs away. He's not reacting with the siege weapons, though. Mangonel looking for the shot. Goes in. Good hit. Backspread isn't quick. He doesn't move away. He will use the Mangonel now, but the chasing is there. A small group of man-at-arms here to snipe down the Mangonel before they get sniped themselves. Pulls back for the moment. Springald engaging. And that means the main line of MarineLorD is too weak. With the crossbowman here, he's going to lose this engagement in the north. Question is, what about the south? The south, there are battering rams being built. He's distracting here. Problem is, after this distraction, how many troops are left for LucifroN? How likely is he to push in? And with this number, actually not very likely at all. So instead, look at the move now. However, the boiling oil, it's a problem. MarineLorD, he can't dive underneath this easily. And the crossbowmen are causing him problems. And yes, you've got a battering ram, but unless you get rid of the troops garrisoned here, or stationed here rather, you're not going to be able to keep the battering ram going. And once again, just as you think you start to see an advantage eking out, you can see the problems arising. LucifroN, of course, has been up at Imp Age for a while, but MarineLorD is looking to catch up now. He's bouncing back. Imp Age is underway, and it is going to be in Hissar Academy. Remember, this gives you food based on the number of technologies that you've researched, which means that he should be able to push out more units than that which LucifroN is able to do, right? LucifroN did go for a second TC, but at the end of the day, when you get to this late stage, when you're talking about your economy being capped and your full pop being capped, what it matters is where you can eke out a value advantage, right? If you're fabricating food out of nowhere, same with, for example, Regnitz Cathedral for the HRE. If you're fabricating resources out of nothing, that's an edge your opponent can't keep up with because 200 is the cap, and once you hit it, there's no way for you to scale your economy faster. Also, keep in mind another detail, the way Dali bounces back in this, is those researchers, right? He's saved so much researching all this crap over time, right? Compared to LucifroN that has to pay for any sort of eco, military upgrades, whatever. The Delhi player doesn't. And now push in. 23 man-at-arms again. The count is against MarineLorD. He'll fall back further. Wallalol forces them away for the moment, and then he can just rebank the relic afterwards if he's still alive to do so. Instead, backs away. But they're diving deep here. Meanwhile, southern side, fight going on out here. 15 from MarineLorD up against 4 and 7 crossbowmen. So it will be a good trade still for LucifroN. Remember the crossbowmen, they smash through you quickly. Elite crossbowman is 27 damage per shot. And now archers coming out is the response from MarineLorD. But in the meantime, the dive into his base is deep. Not many man-at-arms here, so not a threat to his infrastructure. But he's going to lose the northern trade. And that does mean that if you want LucifroN, he can push through the north now. Problem is he's engaged on the south. He has to respond to this in the meantime. Crossbows, not long for this world. Small group left, but with the TC hitting into them. With the hand cannoneer switch, they won't last long, and this is the difference right now. MarineLorD, he's going for that qualitative solution, right? In hard, into the hand cannoneers whenever you can afford them. And I like this. I hate it when I see elephants in this situation where they might not serve you. In fairness, elephants could be decent, but with crossbowmen already in the field, you're somewhat countered. The play into hand cannoneers is a superior one. And hand cannoneers could be amazing here, especially if he starts using forced march, which so far, we haven't seen him use once. Man-arms crossbows coming into the south now. No switch up just yet out of LucifroN. Remember, LucifroN was up here sooner, but he hasn't gone for the hand cannoneers. Remember that he's more budgeted. 120 food for this unit is the problem. Not the gold, it's the food, because he doesn't have Central Lake, remember. And he does at least still have the Outer Lakes. He put a third dock here. But yeah, that's the thing you have to remember, is that when you look at this, these are deep water fish. Remember, they regenerate over time. MarineLorD, if this game goes on 2 hours, he's still going to be fishing. LucifroN, no chance. Maybe a small group, but there's barely any deep water fish on these outside lakes, right? Now walling in. LucifroN trying to take control of these central gold veins, understanding that at this rate, resources will become the limiting factor. Not effort, not push from military, right? If you want to stop the military at its heart, you're going to have to burn out your opponent's resource supplies. And in that regard, well, MarineLorD isn't that friend. Still has a healthy gold vein here. Still has the one in the south, which he can easily access at this rate. It's becoming a problem. And with the keeps mirroring each other, they're taking similar control around the centers. I guess one important detail to highlight is the relic count, right? If we look across at that, are you noticing a slight issue here? Let me just scroll over here so you can get a better view of that issue, right? All 5 relics banked by MarineLorD. LucifroN never even tried to get them. He knew his opponent was going to have an edge in Scholars, and even though LucifroN had superior ground at multiple points in this game, he never played for them, which means that his opponent, look at the income per minute. The gold treacle right now is absurd. Adding 500 into this and then the mining efforts in conjunction with 30 people working it. And remember, these people are more efficient because they've got the pick upgrades, right? They're juiced to the fullest in terms of their gathering rates. Meanwhile, if we look across here, no level 3 for LucifroN. These are too pricey. 300 wood and 700 gold, right? Before that, you can kind of justify it, but at this stage of the game, the cost of that is too damn high. And it means that MarineLorD is getting better bang for buck at every turn at this stage, courtesy of Delhi researching for free. Backler's just trying to patrol in the center still, shift across to the southern side. And that's the switch over, right? Your opponent took control of north side, you can't have a dock here anymore, but you do have south side control of your keep placement. And now Bombard's coming out. Will there be a similar solution? Because remember, LucifroN, he needs to build siege workshops. Yeah, and there it is. Drops one, builds in the bombards. Is slightly delayed, though. And now walls in the north. MarineLorD, he wants to fully focus south. He's creating essentially a dead land, right? Between the two of them. Neither of them should want to push here because you know the military force is already in the south. You know your opponent has somewhat of a foothold. You have weak defenses. It's likely he's going to push you here. So you, as LucifroN, with an immobile force or Nagari like this, have to be in the south. And that's the power of these key placements. That's the power of early walling and taking a posture at these enclosures. It means that your opponent can't respond. Nagari is designed on this way on purpose, right? The whole concept is that if you can force your opponent to have to station on one side, they're always going to do it, right? They're never going to go for a flank attack, even with cavalry, because it means that you're going to be weaker at this stage in the game when pop cap is a limiting factor in the primary fight. And if they win that push through, because they already have established a foothold at the sacred sites with the armies positioned here, they dictate the flow of this game. And that's exactly what's happening with MarineLorD. Hand cannoneers, so many of them. So many, 11 in fact. That's going to be the difference maker. And the man-at-arms line is not going to last long. The mangonels hitting into the crossbows in the meantime. Wrap around, but you can see how quickly they get shredded. It's just so powerful at this stage. This is the transition that LucifroN failed to achieve. He never matched this, and that's the gold treacle difference, right? The huge amount of extra effort that MarineLorD is getting out of the map in terms of relics, in terms of deep water fish in the center, and it's giving the edge here. And although he loses a decent amount of his forces, he's the one with a standing army at the end of it. And we'll look to back away. Respects the crossbows are still a problem, but saves a decent amount of the hand cannoneers. And can start sniping out the man-at-arms chasing in. Man-at-arms should not be used this way, not with the hand cannoneers there, not unless the crossbowmen are in position, and it means you're going to lose more troops. The dive is going to be a fail. There should be a backup. He needs to replenish his forces. Same for MarineLorD. MarineLorD, he has expanded TCs down here, right? Second TC drop for him. But he needs to build a full military base. I don't like that he's still reinforcing all the way back from home. It slowed him down. I do like the double uni drop. This is a cool play. Remember, you don't pay for these techs, but it takes longer. And that is why he's dropped double uni, to get through the researches quicker. Especially the gunpowder. That's going to be a big booster to him right now, considering he's running this quality solution of hand cannoneers. Hand cannoneers that are going to get zerged at this rate. More bombards coming in. No more mangonels right now. But every time you get in range, this keep is the difference. This is the problem right now. Delhi, feeling confident about their position for the moment. Hand cannoneers are going to be wiped. Trickle in still from both sides, but it's superior at this moment from LucifroN. LucifroN hasn't even built forward base either. This is all coming from behind. Long run, but they're getting there. Meanwhile, on the north side, look at this. This is why we're a little slow. He spots it out. He moves in with the hand cannoneers and the man-at-arms, and he exposes the gold line. LucifroN, he was a thirsty boy. And now he's going to feel like he's stuck in the Sahara. 119, 117. A lot of villages going to be lost, but is it going to be good enough? I don't think so, no. The double keep, the triple keep, in fact, is going to protect it. And although it is a hit onto the economy, you will not prevent him from gaining this much-needed gold. Meanwhile, this one hasn't been contested. MarineLorD hasn't even moved on to it. But MarineLorD, watch this number. 2.5k surplus stone. At any point he chooses, he can look to push forward and keep crawl in. Meanwhile, LucifroN, because of this hard commitment to creating that no man's land area, he doesn't have that same power swing. And that's the power of delaying your hand, Joe, right? If you can hold on a little bit longer, you force your opponent to react first. Yes, you can argue you're forced into a transition. It can be uncomfortable at times. But when it comes to things like this, static defenses, you see the clear advantage that you now have. And also, because the fighting is now in the south, these are undefended. You will raid these quickly with double bombard. And you can still commit to the main fight, which is what he's doing. Hand cannoneers again. Really needs to start using that forced march. You can get on top of the crossbowmen and annihilate them, and then turn around for the man-at-arms. It would be more optimal play right now, instead of just trickling them in slowly like this. But nobody to do so. We'll still clean up the man-at-arms army in even numbers, and the hand cannoneers are still standing. Crossbows do, of course, have slightly superior range, one extra tile, and that is making somewhat of a difference here as he's sniping out a lot of these hand cannoneers. But still, losing ground, and now falling back. This doesn't feel good. You don't want to allow him to pin you down and build keeps forward. Meanwhile, in the north, moves out the villages, but a few hand cannoneers. Here to butcher through the lines. So many villages going to be lost. And this is the worrying part. MarineLorD right now is committing on two fronts, and at this rate, LucifroN has to respond, right? He's got some crossbowmen and man-at-arms down in the north. He's going to be weaker in the south, and he's already starting to lose ground. This game will not let up. Second keep, soon as full. Not able to deal with the bombards, not with a few hand cannoneers here. It's just too strong. And another keep is going to fall. 800 stone, set on fire. Don't ask me how that works. Now, more troops coming out. Bombards back up into the choke point. Pins in LucifroN's troops long enough to back away, and they're still chasing. Meanwhile, in the south, pushing back to the keep. Bombard on bombard. But the trade should favor MarineLorD for the moment. Second bombard coming in from LucifroN. We'll trade it out. New ones reaching the front. His keep is safe. Meanwhile, only one keep left up here for LucifroN. And more villagers going to be lost here as they get mixed up in the fight. And this means that his reserves are going to start to draw up quicker. Look at the numbers right now, MarineLorD. Over 1,000 in surplus food in comparison. Courtesy of the power of this right here. The Hussars Academy is definitely adding a decent chunk in. But more important than that is the power of his fishing fleet on these deep water fish locations. Deep water fish locations that we warned, remember, would start to dry up. And they are starting to get there. You can see how quickly they're just being burned. They do regenerate, remember? That's why you're still seeing numbers on them. But with this many fishing vessels, you can't go beyond this number, right? You're actually capped on how many fishing boats you can have on these outer lakes. Meanwhile, the center, world's your cloister. I didn't want to make an oyster pun, okay? That's why I said oyster. God damn it. One hand cannon near, trying to deal with this. Crossbows moving out. Bombard's doing it again, though. LucifroN, more ground surrendered here. Not able to get through the bombard quick enough. We'll snipe one on the outro here. But damage done. New keep coming down from MarineLorD next to the sacred site. Meanwhile, in the north, they do snipe out one of the bombards in the end. He committed hard here, though. 10 man arms and 7 of these crossbowmen with no way to breach. And you've already picked through the gold here. So your max value's lost. And look at the sneak in, MarineLorD. You goddamn snake. Sneaks a few in under the villager line again. And now resumes in the south. And this is where MarineLorD usually thrives, right? In the chaos. In dragging fights, multiple locations. He loves to do this to players. He's been known to out-micro quite effectively, time and time again. We've already seen it multiple times in this tournament, in fact. So he's dragging attention back and forth. He's forcing reactions constantly. And what the hell? No! What? This sneak. LucifroN, by the time he realizes it, he's not going to be able to use it. But this could have been big. This was never walled off. He could have stuck in and raided into the economy. I say that. There's not much economy here anymore. It's all dragged to the south, so wouldn't have changed much. Meanwhile, for him, he's still got a TC exposed here. And he's running out of retreat space. New keep being dropped. Remember, we said MarineLorD, he's being tactical about this. He wants to expand his influence with every move forward and establish control over it with the keeps. That's what he's doing slowly but surely. And just cap out. No, he just calls it. LucifroN, he understands when the game is done. He sees he is slowly losing control of the map, and he gives the appropriate respect over to MarineLorD. He will call the GG, and MarineLorD will take it here. He will be your victor in the first of the 3 Winter Series Cups hosted by EGC. And it went all the way. What a series coming out between them. MarineLorD, he does take the edge here, but you could see how wonky this was getting, right? They were outside their specialist crews, right? They were outside their best. We'd seen the Mongols already. The Rus were banned out as well as England, for anyone wondering why they didn't appear. France was already used by both of them, right? Delhi attempted already by LucifroN. China obliterated from the possibilities. And it comes down to this, an eco-type on eco-type, and what it turns into on Nagari especially. And this is what I love about MarineLorD and the way he picked this. He done it intentionally because he's playing on Nagari. Nagari is one of those maps that leans itself towards slogs, right? Where it turns into a resource grab and it's what's left. And the advantage you have is that's a late game situation. And up against the Abyss not really having a true identity in terms of specialist units. Best they can do is match you, right? Man arms for the most. And the more important detail is that as the Delhi player, you save ridiculous bundles of resources in the late game because you get your Imperial level techs for free. Meanwhile, on the other side, every single tech you want as the Abbasid player is costing you excessive amounts of food, wood, gold especially, right? Up to 700 gold per research. It does add up. And that's where Delhi have a potential lashback in that ultra late game situation. MarineLorD, fantastically identified. Love the way he budgeted on the keeps as well. Never wasted that resource, right? It's a finite resource on the map. So instead, every keep he puts down establishes control over a new area. He shifts forward, cover, move. Cover, move. Meanwhile, what LucifroN is doing is simply spamming keeps to prevent any raid on the northern side and also secure 1 gold line. It's not a valuable trade. If you map it out, you think about it, 2,400 stone in the end invested in the north and disintegrated by just 2 bombards. It's a huge loss. LucifroN understood that this game was coming to a fold. He needed a quick in. And the problem is that right now, Abyss's late game, the composition is slow. There is no quick raiding. There was no switch up in the Lancers. They both had doubled down on the same. And that means that that resource difference ekes out the win eventually from MarineLorD. Well played by him. Takes it 3-2 overall. Exciting story, exciting series rather, nonetheless. Love to see it. And I believe in terms of prize pool, first place, that does mean he takes home the lion's share of $700. LucifroN, of course, still gets $400. And more importantly, they both get themselves seeding, I believe, for Winter Series 2. And I believe they also have already are quickly on their way to securing slots for the big $20,000 tournament in the new year. Remember that I think that's going to be based on each of the tournaments or possibly a seeding system based on your pointing. But right now, it's looking like LucifroN and MarineLorD will definitely be invited to that. So amazing showing, but that's going to bring us to a close. I'm not going to drag this out too long. We've been going quite a long time. In fact, we've been live for 10 hours now, non-stop. My throat hates me, but thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure as always. And hopefully I'll start uploading the EGC replays by tomorrow. We'll start with day 1. We'll work our way through. So if you didn't catch the action, you'll be able to catch across on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there if you haven't already. Make sure you follow here. And if you want more action, there's already plenty of videos on the YouTube side. I just uploaded another one about an hour or 2 ago. So go check that out. And another one's going to be uploaded in 5 more hours. So be sure to catch that one when it goes live. But thank you guys. Has been a pleasure. GG. But I need to get some videos uploaded and then get some rest. Farewell. I'll catch you again soon. Don't stay a stranger, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Peace out.